Call halal la Yahweh ba Hashem Yahweh Shai. Waha Raha Kwadash. All praises and glory go to you, Lord. Double honors and respect go to our apostles, our elders, and our teachers, men of great millstone. To you I say Shalom. It's your brother Amraya, and back with another message. Looking at this article from the Washington Examiner, title being "The Biden Pelosi Schumer Deficits Are a Catastrophe." And what exactly are they talking about here? They're talking about Biden basically bragging about his annual deficit being cut in half in the fiscal year of 2022. And I'm going to go ahead and read this article. It says, while the Biden administration brags that it cut the federal government's annual deficit, and Salaki, one moment. Now it says, while the Biden administration brags that it cut the federal government's annual deficit in half in the fiscal year 2022, the reality is that the 1.4 trillion deficit is not a triumph but a travesty, right? The decline in the deficit reported on October 11th comes despite, not because of, any of Biden's actions as president, and the remaining deficit size remains gargantuan and grotesque. Okay. Now, this is all an effort to go ahead and crash the dollar as you know it, to bring in their new system of purchasing and buying, which is going to be that CHIP. So all of these storylines, they're prophetic, okay? Because at the end of the day, the deficit is growing larger than it ever has ever been ever in any time in history. And it's going to bring this out in this article. Now, just going to roughly skim certain parts. It says when the famous high spending Barack Obama left office, the then most recent deficit, 2016, was 587 billion, as you can see here. Okay. Now, when Bill Clinton was in office in 1994, the deficit was 203 billion. Do you see what has happened? From the time Bill Clinton was in office in 1994, the deficit grew to 587 billion and 720 billion um, in inflation just in the year in 2022. Okay. Now, what is happening is the debt is going through the roof, and they can brag about 1.4 trillion, uh, cutting the budget down, but that's because they literally printed more money in the last year, 2021, than has ever been printed throughout the entire history of this country. And what that in fact did was it played with the numbers, so to speak, because in actuality, what it's going to look like it's doing is um, helping to relieve the debt, but in fact, it all it did was weaken the dollar, and it's only showing results on the front end. On the back end, what it's going to do is, increase that debt quite substantially, might I add. Okay. Now it says the only reason the deficit declined in the past year is that it had been artificially, that's the word I was looking for. It's an artificial result. Okay. It's not guaranteed, it's not permanent. In fact, it's going to do something complete opposite on the back end. But again, the only reason the deficit declined in the past year is that it had been artificially and astronomically expanded in the two prior years because of coronavirus relief funds approved by the President Trump, and then at an even higher level by Biden. It was aching that what would happen to a family budget. I'm not going to read that part. We're going to skip down and get the part that I was noticing earlier. Now, it says in this case, Biden hasn't even returned to the norm, but the deficit 2 to 4 times the norm for a non crisis year. That's a record And that should cause not boast, but deep and abiding shame, as the high federal deficit and debt also come at a time of the year high inflation and more than half a year of economic contraction. It means the public is being hurt economically in three ways at once. All right. Their investments have taken a loss. The cost of living has gone up. The cost of food and resources have gone up, and basically the value of your dollar has gone down. People are not making enough to get by in these last days, and you're starting to see the results of that just in everyday behaviors around you. Just as a personal example, I had someone break into my garage, try to steal my car the other day, and I mean, they went through the effort of drilling off the locks and actually breaking into the garage. I'm sure it took some time because there are pry marks and all different manner of things on there, but that's something I had never experienced before. And you're starting to see those type of behaviors, people following people home from the grocery store and attempting to rob them for their groceries. So I mean, you're starting to see the love of many wax colder and colder because they're put in precarious positions as non-believers, and they're starting to act out. Okay. Now, moving on down, it says the truth is that Biden's congressional Democrats have high. I don't want to hear that shit. This is all being done because it is the will of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Okay. Now I'm gonna read this part. It says, in reality, said Maya McGuinness, president of the respected centrist Committee for Responsible Federal Budget, their actions have added more than 4.8 trillion to the debt over the coming decade. So if the national debt, what is the national debt? I looked it up a while ago, is 2.8 trillion. Then they're going to add over $2 trillion worth of debt, and probably even more by the time this is all said and done over the next decade, even if we even last that long. Because ultimately what they're trying to do is crash this current system and bring in the NWO, the new way of doing things, the CHIP that they plan on implementing through their draconian laws to get the world to take it. Okay. Now, looking into this brings about certain prophetic scriptures. First and foremost, I want to get this in Nahum chapter 3 and verse 18. It says, thy shepherds slumber, O king of Assyria. And that's just slang for the Edomite nation, Esau Edom, the so-called white man. Their shepherds are asleep. Okay. It says, thy nobles, your senate, your congressmen, your presidents, etc. It says, your nobles shall dwell in the dust, with meaning confusion. Okay. And if you don't see that clear as day, what is Joe Biden but a big ball of confusion? Huh? By design, might I add. But reading again, it says, thy shepherds slumber, O king of Assyria, thy nobles shall dwell in the dust. Thy people is scattered upon the mountains, and no man gathereth them. There is no healing of your bruise. Your wound is grievous. All that hear the bruit of thee shall clap the hands over thee, for upon whom have not thy wickedness passed continually? And that's a bit of sarcasm from the Lord, if you must know. And really, who hasn't been affected by the wickedness of America? But this has even more of a spiritual message, which we will find in Habakkuk chapter 2. And I'm going to just start at verse 1. It says, I will stand upon my watch and set upon the tower, and I will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. Right. We're supposed to simplify this thing and tell the people of our nation and also of other nations what is coming. What is the will of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai? And Yahweh is whom you ignorantly call God. Yahweh Shai is whom you ignorantly call his son Jesus. Okay. Those are their literal names in the Hebrew. It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak. Right. And it is speaking as we currently are sitting here, and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Huh? Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him. Speaking of the nation of Esau, Edom, the so called white man. Their soul is not upright in them. All right. They have no gumption, no backbone, no moral character. And it's starting to show. Their nobles are asleep. Their Congress and Senate, they're all sold out and taken the bag to go ahead and crash this economy. And that's what's coming next, people. But continuing on. Um, it says, but the just shall live by his faith. Right. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, which is his doctrine, the so-called white man, the nation of Esau, Edom. It says, yea, also because he transgresseth by his doctrine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. Right. And as Apostle Tahar just brought a video, how they're releasing soldiers over there in Ukraine, U.S. soldiers, and you see they're spread all throughout the countries over there in the Middle East, from the Middle East on, because he can't keep at home. He's got to be up in somebody's business, keeping up a bunch of mess. Okay, which is why they're pretty much sleep. Their wisdom is gone. Who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heap unto him all people. Right, because he's a greedy bastard. Shall not these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? Huh? How long? And to him that laden himself with thick clay. Now the apostles and elders have broke this down eloquently. Okay, and for those of you out here who are studying the Hebrew as myself, I'm gonna go ahead and remove those stupid, Yiddish marks or whatever the fuck they are, and we're gonna read this just verbatim. Now, what I wanted to get was the thick clay. Okay. Now, I don't have my text next to me, but what it means can be found right here. It says the weight of pledges, heavy debts. So thick clay means debts. Huh? And going back, if we read this with the understanding which the apostles, elders, and teachers on down have given to us, Salakia. Let me see. We got some trying to be funny here. Computer is acting a little crazy. All right. Take the tools off so don't try to pull no fast moves on me. It says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that laden himself with thick debt, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and shall be for booties unto him? And booties is spoils of war. Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Woe! And woe means destruction to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high. Huh? Space travel got their and they haven't traveled through space, but what I mean is they've set up space stations, etc., and that's what they mean by setting their nest on high. And he may be delivered from the power of evil. Okay, now the apostle brought this up earlier. And I'm going to go ahead and get it now. See, verse 16, Isaiah 24 and 16, it says, from the uttermost part of the earth have we heard songs. Huh? That sweet lyrics that come in from the prophets, the apostles, the elders on down, singing this beautiful music. And they've heard these songs from the uttermost parts of the earth where the prophets dwell. Even glory to the righteousness. But I said, my leanness, woe unto me. The treacherous dealers have dealt treacherously. Yea, the treacherous dealers have dealt very treacherously. Speaking of the so-called white man, because the earth was given into the hand of the wicked, huh? The nation of Esau, Edom. Verse 17, fear and the pit and the snare are upon thee, O inhabitant of the earth. And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit. And another word for pit is system. And he that cometh up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare. For the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly, because we got nuclear war coming, people. The results of all of these backdoor deals and movements that are going on in the thick debt. Hell, I put it this way, street terminology. When you owe somebody money, how long can you get away with not paying them before they come and do something to you? Huh? So, America Babylon the Great definitely has something coming to her because of all of the treacherous dealing, treacherousness that comes from its roots. Huh? It is a city established upon blood, and you can get those scriptures for yourself. Now, it says, it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear fall into the pit, and he that cometh up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare. For the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. Huh? Huh? Now, I don't want to spend too long on this part, but very beautiful read for those Akim that are looking to get fed a little bit of meat. Take your time and go ahead and digest that one. That one is good for you. Beautiful read. Anyways, continuing on. Now, this is Sirach, and we'll end out here. Okay. And verse 7, Sirach chapter 21 and verse 7. It says, an eloquent man is known far and near, but a man of understanding knoweth when he slippeth. Huh? So obviously, Biden is not a man of understanding, because printing all that money and busting these moves he's been busting lately hasn't led to much wisdom at all. Okay. It's led to him slipping. But he would understand that if he was a man of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. He's only a man of the nation of Esau, one of the shepherds that are in slumber, sleep at the wheel. Okay, like a drunk man driving, you're about to crash. Now, here's the point. He that buildeth, verse 8, he that buildeth his house with other men's money is like one that gathereth himself stones for the tomb of his burial. And that is coming sooner than you realize. Okay. I want to give a shout out to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai for this lesson. The water. Huh? Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. I want to tell you, those who may happen to come across this video, I hope that this video is edifying in some manner to you. And to Yasha Allah, I say, Shalom.